broadcasting live. Well, not actually live because this is actually recorded, but I'm doing a lot of these interviews for my YouTube stream. And one of the, like I said, I'll talk to anybody that has an interesting story. And I just reconnected with somebody that I knew from my high school days, somebody I grew up with, and we spent a lot of time. I've talked a lot about on the radio about me playing baseball. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're a nerd. You never played baseball or anything like that." Nobody ever believes me. So it's good to have this person on because they can actually attest that I played baseball with him, and it's my good friend from high school, and I know him as another name, but he wants to go by Buck. What's up, Buck? How are you,
Hey
buddy?
man, how's it going, Tuddle?
Dude, it's good to talk to you, man. So it's been a while since we've talked, and we spent a
Been a
lot of
long time.
time. I think, I mean, in high school, you were a couple of grades under me, right? We weren't in the same class.
Right, right.
What
I
year
was
did you graduate? What year
I
did you
grad
graduate?
I graduated in 2001.
2001. So you were 3 years behind me.
Right.
And because I graduated in 98, and we both went to Taylor Middle High School up in Pearson. If you guys don't know where that is, it's a small little school, and it's the fern capital of the world. So look it up.
Shout
I'm
out to
not
Pearson.
exaggerating. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. But um, me and Thomas, we spent a lot of time playing baseball, and I got to tell you this: out of anybody, Thomas, I guess I gotta stop calling you that. Buck,
I'll get used to it, man. I'll get used to
Buck, Buck,
it.
Buck had more pure natural talent to be a pitcher in baseball because he had the build for it. Like I would have killed to have the body frame that you had, like because I mean, what are you going? Because you were always a tall, lanky motherfucker growing up.
um, these days I'm about 6'6", 285. So
See,
I've
6'6". Fuck. See, that's some Randy Johnson type shit. And like, if I would have had your physical frame as a pitcher growing up playing baseball, I would have been able to throw. I was never a fastball pitcher. I didn't have the natural like speed that you had because like you were naturally just had that big lanky frame that gave you an advantage over any other pitcher out
yeah.
there. So
Yeah, I mean,
now,
I had the
go,
frame. I had the frame. I won't say that I was much of a pitcher. I was more of
yeah,
a thrower. I was more of a
yeah.
thrower. Had the sneaky fastball. Probably high school. I was probably throwing about 88 my senior year. Led Volusia County in strikeouts.
But that's the thing about it. So, see, because when my senior year, when I got done in high school, I went to
Right.
a bunch of the tryouts. Hold on, see, now my goddamn light's going off, and I got to turn my light on. See, this is the thing about amateur podcasting. Um, Going on. But back to what I was saying is that when I was going to a lot of the college tryouts, if you weren't throwing in the high 80s to low 90s, they didn't even bother to look at you. Like
Right.
because like I could get people out, ground outs. I had sneaky stuff. Wasn't, a good fastball pitcher,
Right.
but they can't teach speed, and that's exactly what they're looking for when it comes to playing college ball or the scouts looking at you. So now I haven't kept up with you. I do I From what I remember, you did play at St. John's Community College, I think.
I did. I actually started my college career at Lake Sumter, and things didn't go well there. Ended up transferring to St. John's River Community College, which is now St. John's River State College,
Yeah.
and then I ended up leaving St. John's River State on a full ride to a small school, private school in South Georgia, little town called Thomasville, where I played in the NAIA for Thomas University.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, you made it a hell of a lot further than I did. But um, now back to our playing days. That was good. I don't think we ever played on the same high school team. I think you were playing JV whenever I
Oh,
was playing. Who
we
was your
did
coach?
because
Go
we
ahead.
actually we did play together.
Okay.
I was called up my freshman year from JV to varsity, um, and you were pitching. I remember the game like it was yesterday. We were at Jacksonville Bowls,
Oh,
and
yes. Yeah, that was like
yes,
no, no, no,
yes,
no, no. That was my last game, and like
that was.
I was like, this is my last game. I don't care if
Yep.
I throw my arm out. And I ended up striking out a lot of guys,
Yeah.
and I was against some elite competition. But I was like,
Right.
I'm going out in a blaze of glory. I don't care if I hurt myself. I'm going to pitch as well as I could. God damn, I can't believe you remember that. But how much of a treat was that for us, playing in Pearson, to be able to go up there and play in Jacksonville Bulls? What a great atmosphere that is to play baseball.
And the coolest part about it is that we were at Pearson, Taylor High School, which is Pearson is known as the hometown of Chipper Jones, who's now a
Yep,
Hall of Famer.
yep,
And his dad was our math teacher there.
yep.
And
I
then
had
we
him.
get to
I had him.
go,
I had him in middle school and a year in high school as well too, Mr. Jones.
yes, aka Hawk, that's what they
Yeah,
called. And
Hawkeye. Yep.
great guy, loved him to death. Wish he could have had a little more influence on my baseball career. But
How cool would that have been? Coach McFarland. I still talk to him, and he's still a good guy. He's coaching at Spruce Creek right now. But how cool would that have been if we could have had Hawkeye, Chipper's dad, as our coach, because he was coaching there at the high school for the longest time. That would have been like such an awesome experience to have him as a coach.
oh, that would have been great, man, because he was once he was done coaching Chipper, and
Yeah, he
Chipper
kind of got out of it.
Chipper went away to Bowls, which is ironic that we got to play Jacksonville
Yeah,
Bowls because
it
that's
won
where
our
Chipper
last games.
and the rest is history. But Chipper, Hall of Famer, small town. We both come from the same high school as Chipper Jones.
Yeah,
I still tell people all the time,
yeah,
Chipper Jones went to Taylor High School. He
yeah.
left it with the Bowls, but Pearson is his hometown, and I mean, as far as I know, he's proud of that. So
Now, did you now? I can't remember. Do you remember the alumni baseball game that we had where Chipper came out and played?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
got to pitch against him, and he hit the longest fucking bomb off of me. Hit that shit
Yeah,
over the driver's head. You remember the driver's head course was
yes.
in right field, and he
That
hit that
field,
shit.
the
Yeah,
old Taylor High
old
School
field. Yeah,
baseball field was a boneyard.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it took a monster of a man to hit one straight center, and I believe Chipper, if he hit one into the driver's ed range, then
Yeah.
that's a shot.
Yeah, but that was a great experience being able to play in that alumni
Yeah.
baseball game with him.
I
But
mean, how often do you get to pitch to a future Hall of Famer?
yep, yeah. And I tell people that a lot of people are always like, "Oh, you're just a big chipper mark because you went there." But I agree, he's still one of the greatest hitters of all time. And if he wouldn't have had a couple of seasons where he was injured, he would have been in the 3,000 hit club and the 500 home run
Absolutely,
club.
without a
But
doubt. Chipper Jones, probably the second best switch hitter of all time,
Mickey
behind Mickey.
Mantle first or
I mean,
Pete Rose?
Mickey Mantle first, Chipper Jones at number two, and then you got to have good old Eddie Murray in there at number three.
Yeah. But like I said, Chipper would have taken care of himself a lot more later in his career. I think he could have eventually gotten that 500 home run, 3,000 hit club because he fell short. Like he was only a couple hundred hits short of getting the 3,000, and I think like 60 home runs away from the 500 home run club. But back to you. What are you up to these days? What do you do? Where are you living
These
at?
days,
Yeah,
Tuddle. These
yeah,
days, I am working in the private security field. I went to school, got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I
yeah,
kind of put that. Um, I went to work for the Highway Patrol. I don't tell people this often. I went to
yeah.
work for the Florida Highway Patrol for a little while. Did a very brief stint with them, and then realized, hey, maybe law enforcement isn't for me. So I got into the security field, and it's not a bad field to be in. So I exercised my credentials through working in private security.
Well, that's cool. Now, personal life? You married, kids, anything
Oh,
like that?
hey, yeah, I'm a single guy, no
Yeah.
wife, no kids. Gone through the heartbreak like everybody else, but we're
Yeah,
still we're still here kicking, brother.
yeah, I was married for 10 years. I mean, it was a good time. It didn't end
Right.
well, but it was one of those things I wasn't too proud of, but it was a great time while it lasted. But my dad, I told them that I was going to be talking to you tonight. He wanted me to tell you. He said hello. At
Hey,
first, he didn't remember you, but I was like, oh, remember, because you remember my dad built that mound out at our house, and you guys used to come over and we would pitch off of it and
yep.
practice. Now, did you ever? I think you might have. Did you ever go to that pitching coach with this Bob Sabra guy?
I believe I
At
went.
all?
I believe I tagged along with you and your dad once. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
What I
he's.
remember, what I remember most about your dad, I remember your dad coaching the Marlins. You guys were older than
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah. We
but
beat
you guys,
Pearson. We beat Pearson for the first time. See, now a lot of. Let me reset this. Okay, so um, everybody in DeLeon Springs went to Pearson, which was a long ways away. We didn't have our own high school. And God damn it, my light's turning off again. Let me get this thing started. I got to see, this is the thing about, hold on. All right, I got it back here. So, all right, back to what I was saying. So DeLeon Springs is a small little town, and Pearson is its own town. But we had to travel about 30 minutes to get to high school, don't you think, every day? That's
yeah.
where the high school is.
Well,
20 to
from
30 minutes.
Leon to Pearson, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20,
15,
30 minutes.
15 if you're,
Hauling ass. But
yeah,
now in Little League, it was Pearson and DeLeon Springs had their separate teams, and Pearson beat our ass every single year. And the one year that my dad was coaching a team, we had a great team, and we ended up beating Pearson and winning the title and got to represent Northwest Volusia County and top teams. It was a feat,
yes.
and it was great. It was amazing. It was cool because Pearson beat our ass every single year. Like, they had the best team, the best players. And now, did you ever play American Legion baseball?
I actually missed it. I missed out by 1 year. The year that I was eligible to play post six, they excluded Taylor on the
Yeah,
list.
they did. See, I tried out for post six a couple of times and I never made it because
Yeah,
Pearson had their B team, and they were like, if you're a senior, we don't want you on the B team. So I had to go try out for post six, and they
right.
really never took any of the people from Northwest Volusia County seriously when it
No,
came
you
to post
the only
six.
the only guys that I can remember that actually got to experience post six baseball when I was there, two names, Joe Underhill. Shout
Yep.
out to
Yep.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
underdog.
Now
The
I was gonna
underdog.
bring that up. See, I'm glad you brought that up because I one of the other coaches with the impact on me was Mr. Underhill, coaching baseball. Did you ever have a chance to play for him?
I didn't get a chance to play for Joe, but I know Joe very well. But the other name that I was going to mention was a big guy by the name of Travis Gamble. I know you remember
Yeah, yeah,
Travis.
yeah. Travis Gamble. See, now
And,
now Travis Gamble was cool. Wait.
but in
Hold on,
Pearson,
hold on. Hold on.
in
Now,
Pearson,
Travis Campbell, he played first base, right, in high
yes,
school? Okay.
yes,
Now, who was the catcher? No, that was Tanner Guest. See, now Tanner Guest,
he
one
was
of the
before
most.
me. He was
Yeah,
before
yeah,
me.
yeah. He was before you, but this was when I was a sophomore. Okay, so my first my first pitching start in high school was against Umatilla and Coach Miller. Do you remember Coach Miller? Was he still around when you were there? He was.
Listen, Don Miller,
Yeah, yeah. No, he was.
LSU alum,
Yeah, no,
Don Miller.
he was our coach before Mr. McFarland, and this
Yes,
is how much faith he had in me. I was a sophomore, and they didn't give me. But he already had somebody pitching in the bullpen, warming up before I threw my first pitch in the first inning. And I was like, holy shit, this is bullshit. He's already got somebody warming up. I ended up pitching a shutout in that game, but Tanner Guess was the catcher, and I threw one in the dirt, and it caught him in the nuts. And he walked out to the mound, and he was like, listen, if you do that shit again, I'm going to come out and beat the fuck out of you in front of everybody. Because Tanner was a big guy, and I wasn't always the biggest guy, and Tanner was really intimidating.
He's a scary guy.
Yeah, scary guy. And he was like,
I was a lot younger than him, but I remember him.
Right.
But you know what? I want to go back to your days with the Florida Marlins and the team that your dad coached, and you guys had one of the best power hitters to ever come out of DeLeon Springs, Luke Scott. I mean, that's why you guys.
Wait. Yeah, Luke was good. Luke. Now working over in Tampa, I got a chance to meet up with Luke Scott because he had a quick stint with the Rays, and working over in Tampa, we went to a lot of the Rays games, and I had a quick chance to talk with him, and yeah, he was good. I think he's playing overseas playing baseball right now. I'm not sure, but yeah, Luke had a lot of talent. He was great.
Yeah. And then I ended up playing college with his brother Noah.
Yeah, Noah's a big dude too.
Yeah, he's a beast of a man. He's probably about 6'4", 290. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's a big guy. He was a pretty good college player. Pretty good college player.
Yeah, Luke was one of those guys, like, he wasn't, in high school a partier or anything like that. He took care of himself in the craft, and he was in great physical shape and was a great player.
Still is, man.
Yeah. So what else have you been up to, man? Like, besides, what have you been doing besides, with work and everything? What have you been doing?
I'm gonna be honest, man. We lost my dad. Probably.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry to hear about that, man. Because I saw your post. He was a veteran. I saw you for Veterans Day yesterday. Put out a post and everything. Yeah, I met your dad a few times. He was a great man, and I'm sorry about that. I know he was sick for a really long time, and I hated to see him suffer.
Yeah, he went out like a champ, though, man. My dad was a very strong guy, and I've been taking care of my mom since he's been gone. Just working, and I try to enjoy. I'm a huge sports fan, as you know. Baseball has always been my life, but nowadays I'm loving. I love my Florida Gators. I love my New Orleans. My New Orleans Saints, baby, who dat? Even though we lost this past weekend.
Now I want to talk to you about that. Now, to the Florida Gators, I think a lot of people, there's high expectations when it comes to the University of Florida, and I see a lot of people on social media. Oh, I can't believe we lost to Georgia. We need to be competing for national championships. But what I think that Dan Mullen's been able to do in his first 2 seasons as the head coach of the Florida Gators is nothing short than amazing. He's playing with players that do not fit into his system, because he is more of a run pass option type guy. And what he's been able to do with the players that he has, just wait until he gets a couple of years and he starts, recruiting players that fit into his system. They're going to be a powerhouse.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, well, we shouldn't have lost to Georgia. Well, we shouldn't have lost to LSU either. But here's the thing. Those are rival matchups. And if you've ever played any sport in your life, you know that rivalries can go either way on any given day.
Anybody can win on any given day. That's like, even though FSU is horrible this year, that game always scares me, because FSU could show up and play out of their minds, and us play a little bit of a bad game and us get beat. So rivalry games are always competitive. God damn it, lights going off again.
Well, I honestly feel like the Florida Gators played LSU better than Alabama did.
Yeah, no, they did. We going into the fourth quarter, we hung in there with them touchdown for touchdown. It's just that their offense is so good. You have to score every single time you have the ball, and we're not able to do that. And but what Kyle Trask has been able to do, in my opinion, and I don't like to see any player get hurt or talk bad about Felipe Franks, but I
Right.
think we would not be where we are at right now in the season with the type of record we have if it was not for Kyle Trask, taking over at quarterback, because he's
Absolutely.
led the team. And I mean, the guy threw for over 350 yards against Vanderbilt, and I mean that's a great game. I think what Trask has been able to do. The guy had not started a game as a quarterback since his freshman year playing JV football.
That's right. And another thing too, I mean, you don't wish for anyone to get hurt, but Felipe Franks had some very high expectations, coming into the University of Florida football
Yeah,
program.
he started out
And
as a freshman.
when you have that kind of pressure on you, and you're following up guys like Tebow, and I mean,
Well, there's so many
there's a lot of
great.
pressure on you.
Well,
There's a lot of pressure on you.
to play quarterback at the University of Florida takes a lot of pressure because we have three Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks: Steve Spurrier, Danny Werfel, and Tim Tebow, and they expect a lot out of their quarterbacks when it comes to being the quarterback at the University of Florida. So I think if we end up winning the rest of the season and end up being 11-2, I think that's another successful season. And I think we're only going to get better the more, Dan Mullen, because we're going to rule the state of Florida. Like, Florida's the best team in the state, and the recruiting. We'll get the state of Florida when it comes to recruiting. And let me get your opinion on this. I am so tired of hearing UCF fans chirping and yapping like they are, one of the better teams in the state of Florida. And I've told people if UCF played in the SEC, they would be an average team. They would be like a Vanderbilt. And and it's laughable and embarrassing that they claimed that national championship 2 years ago that they got. The only national championship that counts is the one in the college football playoffs.
Yeah. It's hard to put down Central Florida because we're right here in Central Florida.
Yeah, I know. Look,
But
I want to see them do good. It's just, for the fans, the fan base is what kind of annoys me when it comes
yeah,
to the team.
well, I mean, if you're a diehard Gator fan, and they, which, if the tables were turned, you would be that way for Florida if it were, the Gators. But I tell people all the time, I feel the same way about Florida State. If they came to the SEC, I feel like there are teams in the SEC right now that would just completely dominate Florida State. The Florida State from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Florida State now, anybody can beat the Florida State now because Florida
Yeah.
State is just, I mean, they're hurting. And UCF, if they actually played real Division I football teams, then hey, if you go undefeated, you do that.
You deserve to be there, yeah.
Right. Now, you can't tell me that the UCF now would beat the LSU now.
No, they would not.
And it's just, I agree with you. I have a lot of friends who go to UCF or are UCF alum, but I'm a diehard. I bleed orange and blue, and
yeah, I do too.
I'm not gonna put down your team, but at the end of the day, the SEC competition that Florida plays, our schedule is probably one of the toughest in the nation. Don't come at me with UCF as a national champion because they're not. They're not a national. They're not a true national champion.
They're not. Well, I never went to the University of Florida. I've been to a couple of games, and everybody's like, "Oh, why are you so diehard about the Gators?"
Well, we grew up in the swamp. We grew up in the swamp.
Yeah, I did. Well, but that's the thing that the thing that I appreciate the most and cherish, and you'll appreciate this because you with your dad being gone, the one thing I cherish the most is that I still have my dad and we watched like even living in Tampa, I made sure that I was home every weekend to watch the Florida Gator games with my dad, and I still do to this day because it's one of my favorite things, and I'll remember it until the day I die. Which you can never, you don't like realize how important those moments are until it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, my dad he would pull for the Gators if we're watching the Gators, but my dad, as you know, he's from Tennessee.
Oh, he's a
So
balls
I
fan.
think I think deep down, he was always rooting for Tennessee. And my mom is from Kentucky. She doesn't really watch football, but if Florida's playing Kentucky, she pulls for Kentucky.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. I mean, I was born down here. They were born elsewhere. So I didn't. My dad was a sports fan. He loved baseball more than any other sport, but he did take a liking to football there. In his later years.
Well, listen, man, I know you've worked a long day, and I don't want to make this a long thing, but what I would like to offer is to have you on some more
Yeah.
because I think your knowledge of sports. I want to start doing some sports content, and I think having you on, just being able to go back and forth and talk sports, I think would be entertaining as I build my YouTube subscribers and following. I think that would be something to do if you're interested in it.
Yeah, man. So I don't know if you know this, but I've been following you for a long time, dude. Ever since we left high school. I remember like back in the day, I remember being in college and listening to, Monsters
Yeah.
and all the Jeff Howe stuff and all the
Yeah.
and the cracker from Palaca, all that good stuff, man. That's old school. That's old school.
Yeah.
I know. You've been in the game for a long time, and that's why I consider you a legend, man. You're a legend,
Well,
and
Well, I really, really appreciate that, man. I take that as a big compliment because the one thing I always hear from people that knew me from high school, they always like, oh, there's no way that motherfucker would be on broadcasting and be on the air because I was considered kind of a nerd. I was a quiet kid, wasn't very popular, but I think that's what made me into the person I am and outgoing, and I had to work at my craft just like being a baseball player. My goddamn light going off again. I got to work on this. But back to see, I'm having if you missed earlier in the broadcast, the reason that I'm in my car is because the weather is bad and I'm jobless and unemployed and having to live with my parents right now until I get another radio gig. But I do have some potential radio jobs that I have offers for, but things take time, and hopefully I'll be able to announce something soon. But I can't be inside doing the show there, so I'm having to record this video podcast from my car. But see, because you got great lighting and everything on your end. But
yeah,
back to
I'm in
it.
the house, man. I'm in the house.
But back to it. But back to it. I want to start having you on and talking sports.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to
sure.
be every week, and it could be 15 minutes and stuff like that. And where are you living at now? Are you still local or?
Yeah, I'm over here in West Deland.
Oh, okay. So you're
Yep.
pretty close, man. When we get off the phone, I'll give you a call because I got something coming up I want to invite you to. If you want to
Okay.
come over, it's going to be on the weekend. I'd love to have you over and hang out and everything. So,
Sounds good, man.
all
Sounds
right,
good.
man. So before I get off the phone with you here, I want to thank you for joining me and catching up. But if people want to find you on social media, where can people find you at?
Hey, man, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. I'm on it all, man. I'm having a good time on social media. I never thought that I would ever be into that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that people get after because I'm very outspoken and I'll say things sometimes that maybe I shouldn't have wrote that, and then you know, there's a lot
Yeah.
of yeah, a lot of people out there who are you know the haters.
Yeah.
That's
So how can people find you?
Oh, just look me up on Facebook, Thomas Buckner. That's my
Yeah.
name. Just look me up and
So
add me, send me a request. I mean, Not. I mean, there's not much going on there, you know. There's
Yeah.
not much to really follow. I'm just a simple man living a simple life.
Well, it's good, man. As long as you're putting out good content on social media, the followers will come, man. Well, listen, it was good to catch up with you and see you. Thank you for all the kind words. I really appreciate you doing this. And once I get done with this broadcast and save the video, I'll call you because I want to invite you over to something, okay?
All right, man. Sounds good. Let me give a quick shout out though.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me give
Talk
a,
about anything you want to.
yeah, man. I want to give a shout out to my favorite bar here in DeLand, City Limits Tap Room.
Yeah.
Owner Jim Knight, great place, great venue for sports, any type of entertainment. They got a lot of live music going on over there these days. And I want to give a shout out to Mission 22. Mission 22 is an organization, charity group. They do a lot for veterans who are experiencing troubles from PTSD, and 22 veterans a day commit suicide here in the United States, and that needs to
Yeah, we
stop.
don't do enough for our veterans. We really, really don't. So, especially, and people forget about our police officers as well too,
Absolutely.
because I've read a lot of stories about the police officers that were first on the scene during the Pulse nightclub shooting,
Yes.
and a couple of those guys from the things that they saw got PTSD, and it really messed them up. So
Yeah,
because
those men and women are our front line of defense. I mean, they protect us, they keep us safe, and we owe them a bit of gratitude for that.
well, they see a lot of horrors that we can't even imagine seeing, because there's just stuff that the normal human being will never see. And these people are seeing it on a daily basis and have to go home to their families and act like, everything's okay. And I think there's no way possible that stuff like that is not going to fuck you up a little bit. I don't care how strong you are.
Yeah. Um, it's terrible what they have to encounter, but someone has to do it. Thank God for them. Bless them and their families for what they have to go through on a regular basis, knowing they may not make it home that day.
Yeah.
It's very tough, and God bless them for it.
All right, Thomas. Well, thank you, man, for joining me. I really appreciate this. I want to have you on again, and we can start talking sports. So start thinking of some ideas, any topics or anything you want to talk about sports wise. I'll have you on, and we'll go back and forth, and we'll make something out of it. Okay.
Anytime, Tuddle.
All right, man. Have a good night. I'll talk to you in a few minutes. Okay.
All right. Salute to all the vets out there.
All right, man. See ya. Bye.